Hey everybody, JJ here, back again with another Saturday of Zoom networking. The young man we have as a guest speaker today is out of Pace Morby Sub 2 community. And if you've been on the calls before, seen my YouTube before, we talk about Pace literally every week. Pace Morby is the premier genius in creative real estate, creative finance in the country, and that means in the world. Pace Morby he gives from his heart, and he's just an unbelievable guy, and that's Pace. His Sub 2 community is the premier real estate education platform in the country, bar none. I don't care who you want to put them up against. And they're full of rock stars because that's the way Pace runs his group, is giving back. So just an unbelievable program. If you don't know Sub 2 and Pace Morby, look Pace up on YouTube and Instagram. Our guest speaker today is one of the rock stars out of Sub 2. His name was known to me long before I got a chance to know him. And that's where you've actually branded yourself and people know who you are before they even know you. The young man started as a real estate student. He became an entrepreneur, business owner, very successful in what he's doing. And he's highly respected in the Sub 2 community. My good friend, Mr. Ven Pikarsky. Ven, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for that introduction.
Oh, my pleasure, brother. Well deserved. My biggest joy in what I do is getting to meet people like yourself. And, we talk about networking. We're talking about it before we started to record the call today, that, the importance of building your real estate business, you guys, is building your network. And everyone's, it's so overdone. Your network is your net worth. And that's true. If you don't have a network, then your business is not going to go. You guys have heard the saying, business is all about who you know, right? But they're wrong. It's about who knows you. You go to a mixing event, a networking event, RIA, whatever it happens to be, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day event. If you don't leave having more people know you than when you walked in, then you did not network with intent. You haven't marketed yourself. But what I love about Ven is, I've got some tattoos. He's got a couple tattoos. And when you stand out in the community, people can't help but notice. And as they notice, hopefully you're bringing value as well. And he's on today because he's just a friggin' rock star. Hey, Ven, so for those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
I'm in upstate New York as well. Tristan was saying that he's between me and Rochester. I'm up in Syracuse, dead center of the state, SU basketball. Yep.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm dying to get to upstate New York. I'm sure it's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
As long as it's not December, I'd probably be a little bit too cold for me.
Yeah, it gets cold up here.
Being a California guy. So let me ask you, high school, college, your teen years, your early 20s, is real estate something you were looking at, or were you not looking at it? Were you into music? What were your interests growing up?
So I was actually homeschooled from second grade until I graduated high school. And through that, I was a concert pianist. So I learned discipline. I learned just constant time put into something creates an end result. Just dedicated years of that. At the age of 8, I was practicing 4 hours a day. It was my first career. Real estate was not on the agenda. Never even thought about it.
Wow. We talked the other day. I didn't even know that. I myself played classical piano for more years than I can count. I started probably at the age of about 8.
Nice.
And I think so cool. I played till I was 14. Mm-hmm. And my last 3 years of playing piano, I was in junior high school, 12, 13, 14. I was in the orchestra playing stand-up bass. At the same time, I was taking piano lessons, playing classical piano.
Yep.
So, yeah, music's always been a love of mine. So now, how long were you playing piano? Did that go into your 20s, or were you actually performing? And
Yeah, it was actually my first career. I was competing and traveling internationally from about the age of 11 to 16, 17. I was slated to go to the Eastman Conservatory of Music in Rochester, actually. It was one of the top 3 conservatories in the country, not the world. But no, when the 07, 08 market crash took place, I just watched symphonies start closing down left and right, and I just watched my career go down the toilet.
Yeah.
So I just kind of decided to call it a day because you can't make a living on pennies and lack of consistency. So
what was your path after music? Was that in your 20s that your path turned, or?
Yeah, big turn. I was in pharmaceuticals for 10 years. I was a pharmacy technician. I made medicine, I delivered medicine, worked for hospitals, things like that. It was a stable job. It was just something that I could do for the time being. Um, and then through that, I fell in love with and found tattooing. And that's been my career since until real estate.
Cool. Now you a tattoo artist as well?
Yep, full-time tattoo artist. I've been doing that for the past 8 years.
Brother, gonna have to get you to put some ink on me. Let me tell you, I got a couple spots left.
Yeah, more than happy to.
Yeah, no, that'd be. I never had one of my. Well, you know how it goes. Your tattoo artists become your friends.
Oh yeah, all day.
Yeah,
I've raised more money
friends.
tattooing than anywhere else just by talking to people in my chair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you got way more than me, and I've topped 2 dozen. I think I'm moving in on 30. I think so.
Yeah, I got a lot more than that.
Yeah,
I
I got a
stopped
couple
counting
more
after
than that.
83.
There you go. So, at what point in time from pharmaceuticals, how did you transition to real estate? How did that
Um,
move come about?
Pharmacy was just a day job. It just paid the bills. It was 9 to 5. I learned to hate it. I learned that I hated authority. I think anybody that's an entrepreneur kind of comes to that conclusion.
Oh yeah,
And I just had a bad manager. And I called in sick one day, never went back. Got a tattoo and apprenticeship, and I just roughed it out and built my way up to where I am today. Yep,
good for
never looked
you.
back. Yeah.
So you went from pharmaceutical into the tattoo industry,
Yep.
and what age time in your life was that?
I was about 25, 26 at that point. Yeah.
Okay, and how much longer as you got into tattooing? And I'm sure you're still doing it now.
Mhm.
At what point in time did you discover real estate, and how did that come about?
COVID. Everything was because of COVID. My life completely
Okay,
changed because of COVID. We got shut down in New York for 3 months, and I learned very, very, very quickly I can't make money unless I put needle to skin. So I had to think of the best solution to make money from a laptop. And I fell into wholesaling initially. Um, New York, it's really, really hard to do that. And so it kind of forced me to become a virtual wholesaler and just kind of attack things across the country and learn how to do everything away from where I am physically. So,
well, yeah, and I'm in LA. We're on opposite sides of the country, and
mhm.
wholesaling is difficult here as well.
Yep.
These bigger markets. Um, so actually, COVID is where I got my start with my Zoom call and
Mhm.
my real estate networking. And I actually started, I think, in end of 18, and we had the whole year 2019, and the beginning of 20 is when COVID took up. And I started my Zoom calls actually in January of 20 before COVID. And when COVID kicked in and people had nowhere to go or
Mhm.
couldn't go anywhere, that's when my Zoom calls kind of exploded and the network thing. Um, so as you got into wholesaling, you and I know one another through Sub 2.
Yep.
And of course, Pace Morby.
Yep.
How did you find Pace? How did that happen?
It just really happened as I dove deeper into the wholesaling aspect. A lot of social media, like YouTube University was my college at that point. I just zoned in on YouTube, on TikTok and Instagram, and I just flooded myself with anything that was related to that. Pace Morby's 14-hour live popped up, and I watched that, and I was just instantaneously hooked. It was like a giant dopamine dump of information. I was like, this is the secret sauce.
Yeah.
I got hooked because it was real. You could tell it was real. It wasn't a
Yeah.
sales pitch. It wasn't anything. He was literally teaching you what he was doing. And I was like, wow. And yeah, just pretty much joined a month after I watched that, I think it was, and been sub 2 cents. Just taking that journey forward.
Yeah. Great community.
Mhm.
Um, so your topic today is Airbnb setup start to finish. You
Yep.
said you got in with wholesaling first.
Yeah.
How did you, when we get into real estate, a program like Sub 2, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
we don't know what path we're going to go. We eventually discover things like position like an acquisitions manager and an integrator, transaction coordinator, dispositions manager. Oh my God, what are these things? What path am I going to pick? And there's a one called the visionary. What do they do?
Yeah.
And then they're now talking about these avatars, and the avatars are still like new to me. Oh my God, okay, there's these avatars. So
Yep.
as you moved into Sub 2 and started
Mhm.
discovering all the different paths, I guess Airbnb became a path that you decided to go into, right?
Yep.
Did you find yourself in the beginning wearing all the hats?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Very, very much so. Like you said, I was the acquisitions, I was the dispo. My partner was the transactional coordinator, but we did everything. And it was just trying to figure out what we wanted and what stuck. And I understand that you can't expect something to happen overnight. So I put a good year of wholesaling plus a year and a half of it just to make sure that it was something if I was good at it, cool. And if I wasn't, I wanted to make sure I did it enough that I could quit peacefully, like with my own personal peace. I kind of fell into Airbnbs because it really clicked that cash flow is king. And I found a really cheap way to get into Airbnbs, which is rental arbitrage. And when I went from wholesaling, cold calling sellers, homeowners, things like that, to the rental arbitrage aspect, it was just an instantaneous ease of transition. Homeowners were just so open to the idea of having that conversation. In comparison, I'd say I got 5 yeses out of 30 phone calls. And my first phone call was my first Airbnb. It's just the stat right there alone is just like, wow. And they're not yelling at me. They're not swearing at me. They're not cussing me out, or, they're not a red seller. You're just talking business, and it just made so much more sense. And being in tattooing, I'm a very personable person. I have to talk to people for a very long period of time. It's a very hospitality type business. It's just kind of related. And I could be a hospitality owner, like a business owner in that sense, and provide people with housing and make good cash flow on the back end for it. Yeah.
Let me ask you, as you started and we want to get our business to grow. We want to offload certain responsibilities. We can't do everything.
Yeah.
As the path grew for you, we all hear about VAs all the time. VAs, we need help. Now, have you implemented VAs into your business as you've grown?
I did for one property for a while. I was testing it out. Being who I am, I struggle with relinquishing responsibilities and powers. And then training somebody on top of doing a business is a second job in and of itself.
It is.
So I did that for a little bit. I've actually recently discovered and am now utilizing AI software, which handles a lot of the VA type stuff for a fraction of the cost for the expenses per month. It's called Guest Guru, and it's an automated AI guest messaging platform that you link into your Airbnbs, and it'll do all the responses for you like an actual human being.
Great.
Yeah.
So now you've been doing the Airbnb thing for a good amount of time now.
A year and a half now. Yep.
Now, have you created a portfolio? You have so many properties are they all in one state? Are they multiple states?
They're in multiple states. I'm in 5 states across the country right now. I'm up to 14 properties, working on the 15th as we speak.
Great. And how do you, as you're setting up these companies and you're setting up the Airbnbs, how do you choose what states you're going to work in?
I actually use software that tells me what markets are the best for the data and the gross revenues that I'm trying to hit. I have a specific buy box that I like to target, and that limits the amount of availability there is, and the limits the markets that host that kind of gross revenue. And that's pretty much what I use. I use AirDNA, and then I use another one. They have a market minder that is a deeper dive on the data.
And so, are you now buying properties and you're Airbnb them? Or are you leasing them in Airbnb? How does that kind of work there?
So I started, as I said, with rental arbitrage. So I was leasing them out of the gate, which is where you rent the property, but like a tenant, and then you sublet underneath you. I did that for a little bit of time, and then I kind of fell into co-hosting. I personally prefer co-hosting because it is pretty much a zero expense business. You don't pay rent. You just manage the property. You do all the exact same things, but you just manage the property and get a percentage on the gross revenue that you raise. So you're not required to make a set amount of money every month to pay the landlord, and then on top of that, pay the bills. And then if anything goes south, none of that. And I do own as well. People in Sub 2 and other places bring deals to me. We figure out nice equity splits, cash flow, the whole 9, and we partner up.
Now, what's the best way to set this up? You're talking about setting up start to finish. So if you're dealing with new investors, maybe they're getting going, they've maybe got some little amount of experience, or maybe not at all. I mean, is this something that somebody could do with little experience coming in the gate?
Yep. Yeah, completely. I had no knowledge of Airbnb. I just learned it on the fly. I watched YouTube videos.
For example, I've got a young lady working with me. She's helping with my Facebook. She's on the call right now. and trying to help her get her financial independence and stability and all that going. Let's use her as an example, just to let her know that everything we're doing applies to her as well.
Mm-hmm.
How does someone that's new start up and get into Airbnb? So what our call today is about the startup process, start to finish, set up. So how does that work?
I would recommend learning everything you can about Airbnb first. I went to YouTube. I followed people like Sean Rachicich. I learned about TJ Chajani, Noah Hoffman, all these people within Sub 2 that are doing Airbnb. And I networked with these people as well. I just flooded my mind with anything I could to understand the business that I was about to jump into. From there, I discovered the best ways to hunt for these properties. And I just picked a market and I would start hunting for them. And that was through just simply calling landlords on Zillow. So I would just look up available properties for rent that fit my buy box, whether it's a 3-2 or a 4-2, or you need a pool, no pool. Just click all the amenities. And you just start going through the list of available properties and you start calling the landlords, because it'll show their information and or the property management company on there. And I just started reaching out to landlords, just have a conversation with them. And I would just kind of go for my first yes. Just wait until I found somebody that said yes and make sure that the property would perform from that point forward. So I would have to underwrite the property. I use specific software to underwrite, make sure that I'm going to make the right amount of money that I need. And that's pretty much where I took it.
So for the new investor, looking at possibly getting Airbnb, so obviously you've got over a dozen, you've got 14. But even when we're going to start with one, then to go to 2, then go to 3. I mean, if how much, and I know it depends upon the size of the house and the market. Obviously sometimes it's better to be near theme parks or attraction entertainment things. Sometimes it's better to be maybe near hotels or hospitals, places where people might need lodging if they have a family member in the hospital or the hotels are booked. They want to find an Airbnb. But how lucrative can this be for the new investor?
Say it again?
How lucrative can this be for the new
very
investor?
Very. Out of the gate, I wouldn't take any property that wouldn't cash flow me net $2,000 a month. Out of the gate. Yep.
So if they've got 3 properties, they could theoretically be making $6,000 a month
and retire. Yep. Exactly.
And that's $60,000-$70,000 a year, pretty much out the gate.
Yep.
Just kind of, I'll just say following the things that your processes that you've created for yourself. Are you coaching at all? Are you training people in the things? I mean, you become quite successful at this. And
that is on the docket. Yeah.
Are people asking you to mentor them or train them? Do they ask you for advice?
Yes.
Timmy Smith, you're on with Ven Pikarsky. What's your question?
Yeah, so I was saying, how do we do that? Because it sounds interesting, and you said that you do mentoring, so I'm, interested in that.
Yeah, no, I'm looking to start mentoring this year, specifically Q3. It's a process to get that up and running, but I do help people. People can reach out to me and talk to me, and I'll help you comp properties. I'll help answer any questions that you have regarding what you're about to get into. I'll do that any day. Does not matter. Best way to do that is through my Instagram or through my website.
So yeah, so you said you're looking to get into do some coaching and training now. I guess you're probably gonna, I would imagine, start slowly and get a little bit selective about the people you're bringing on.
Yes, yeah, you have to. I'm going to be dedicating my time to you. I want the same in return. If I'm going to teach you, the whole point of that is so that you and I can provide value to each other. I help you get properties, and in turn, we both grow. We both, level up, as we say.
Michelle Gratis, you're on with Ven Pikarsky. What's your question?
Hi, Ben. I was just wondering if you ever did Airbnb internationally. I'm planning to do that. So I wondered if you had any experience with that.
No, not internationally yet. Going to definitely be doing that sometime. I don't think it's going to be too difficult. The only thing that I've ever really thought would be the challenge is the language barrier, since depending on the country that I'm in, one, I'd have to find somebody that speaks the language. 2, I'd have to trust that they're telling me the truth because I don't know it. So if you can figure that out or just be comfortable trusting the person that's working with you, then you should be good. But I wouldn't let that deter you.
Well, Ven, you could always go to England.
Yeah, exactly.
Michelle, what country are you thinking of? Do you have a language other than English, or?
Yeah. So we are building villas in Bali, Indonesia, and we have people that we trust on the ground.
Perfect.
But I haven't ever done an Airbnb. I know we can sell them as second homes, but I'd like to be able to sell them as second homes. You can Airbnb until you live there or when you don't live there.
Mhm.
So, yeah, but that it sounds like an amazing opportunity here and there.
Yeah.
Great. Michelle, thank you for your question. Justin Kremer, you're on with Ven Pikarsky. What's your question?
Hey, Ven, first of all, thank you for your time and for doing this. This is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just had a question about, like, maybe you could give us an example of what that conversation sounds like with a landlord. Like, maybe maybe I pretend I'm the landlord and you're calling me, maybe give us kind of an example of what that would sound like.
Yeah, sure. I can do that. I can do my best. It's been a while since I've actually had a conversation like that, so I'm rusty.
I love it. That's fine. Yeah. I mean, we don't have to do like a role play thing if you don't want to, but I'm just curious, like, what that actually sounds like.
It more or less just, I call the landlord up and I basically just ask if the property is available for rent. And if so, I then tell them who I am and what I'm doing. I tell them that I partner with landlords and property owners across the country. I am a business and I'm looking to become their permanent tenant over the duration of the lease. And the goal of that is to be their best tenant that they're ever going to have for the rest of their lives.
Nice.
My goal here is to provide value to them. My goal here is to make sure that property is kept in the best condition possible so that it maintains the resale value as well throughout that duration of lease.
Mhm.
They're not going to find a better tenant than me because I'm getting that property professionally cleaned. I'm making sure it's taken care of with handyman, lawn services, spring cleanup, pool maintenance, the full nine.
Right.
And it's just having a conversation explaining that that's my goal, that's my purpose. And the only time they're ever going to get contacted from me is if something major happens, like the tree falls on the roof,
Right.
or a guest blows the property up and we have to claim insurance, stuff like that.
Yeah. But you have business insurance, obviously, for
Yes.
for things like that, obviously.
Yes, very much.
So does that split with the landlord? Does that, you're just paying them what they're asking for rent and you keep the rest? That's your spread, essentially?
Yes, on the rental arbitrage approach, that's all it is. So they get their rent. I'm very transparent that I am Airbnb the property or short-term renting it. You have to be transparent with them. If they don't know and they find out you're short-term renting it, they're going to not be happy.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
No.
So that's great. So what about, I have kind of a follow-up question.
Sure.
The underwriting software that you're using, would you mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, it's just AirDNA. I just go use AirDNA. I have a national subscription, and so I get full access to it. The free version limits you quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I recommend, if you want to get AirDNA, find a group of people, 10, 12, 15 people. You can do a single login and share that.
Mhm.
And then you can split the cost and get an annual subscription. And then you all just can use it as you
That's a
need.
good idea. What is the annual cost? I know this is like, I could probably go find this out, but just off the top of your head, do you know what the annual cost is for like the subscription?
It varies. The new software that I just purchased was $12,900 with a month off.
Yeah.
So I had to pay $1,000 for the year, split between 12 people.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
Of course.
Jeffrey Board, you are on with Ven Pikarsky. What's your question?
No, I was just wondering how I get on the discounted AirDNA, because that thing adds up quick.
It does.
3 places. I was up like $150 or something per month. It's like $20 or $30 a city, and the cities are where I'm at are a joke. Like 1,200 people.
Honestly, I did it by just going inside of the sub2 group and then also Discord and just posting on my Discord that, like, hey, I got opportunity. I'm building a group. I have 2 slots available out of 12. Who wants in? And just, that's it.
Networking.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Cool. Well, if you guys need a 13th person, I guess.
Good to know, man.
Yeah, and then Jeffrey, there's always the option to get into Discord, post it a sub2 group, put feelers out just to see how your responses go.
Yeah.
Because nothing ventured, nothing gained. And one of the things I always say, guys, is according to Pace, hold up your phone, do a vertical video that shows on not only Instagram, but on the phone app for Facebook. Mm-hmm. Those vertical videos are great marketing for yourself, Jeff.
Yeah. I need to get on that. I'm trying to look at some stuff in Philly, and I'm trying to figure out where to go. So that'd be perfect software for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So, man, we've now talked about how to utilize software and how people can team up together. to split the costs on that software. Now, are you working with other people that are sharing the software with you? Or are you guys doing it independently, just happen to share the software?
Yeah,
how does
it's
that work?
independent. So everybody has one shared login. It was just a group of people that we work together. We stay in touch just because we're colleagues in that sense, and we do work together occasionally when the deals, like, they don't want a deal that is in a market that I'm working, or I find a deal that I'm not working that market. I know they're going to utilize it. So since we know that we're all in short-term rentals and things like that, it just makes it easier for us to remember and stay connected.
I think you just dropped a wealth of knowledge on us, brother, just about getting started, how to look into stuff, about the different softwares one might use, how to go about looking to find your market, whatever particular part of the country. We've talked about how to approach landlords, how to approach property owners and get them to work with you. I think this has been unbelievable, my friend. If people want to follow up with you, Ven, they want to get more information later on. I think, would it be Instagram, LinkedIn, MySpace, Snapchat? What's the best vehicle for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, I would say the best place to be would be my cell phone, Instagram, or Facebook. My Instagram was dropped into the chat. My Facebook's just my name, and my number is right on my profile right here.
Okay, great. We've got Norm McCurry. Norm's out of the Sub2 community. Norm, you got a question for Ven here?
I sure do, JJ. Are there any particular areas of the country or of the states that are more user friendly for Airbnbs, or are there areas that you try to stay away from?
I would say there's more areas I try to stay away from. Like LA, it's a hard market to work in. No offense, JJ, but their regulations and requirements are very, very strict and very tough to overcome. I like Texas markets. I like the Poconos. That's really one of my favorite markets. That's booming. New Jersey is pretty good too, close to New York City. They're not too strict on their laws, and it gets a lot of foot traffic. A lot of people travel to the city quite a bit. I wouldn't say user friendly is the correct term. You just need to get your first and kind of just learn as you go. You're going to take a lot of hard knocks, and you're going to learn how to what your guest avatar is. I know JJ talked about that earlier, but there's like varying degrees and different kinds of guests, and you kind of learn who you like the most and who you want to recapture, because then you can start building up a lead generation of those specific people that continuously come back to your property and guarantee you get a 5-star review every time. You got to learn your clientele.
And would you be taking with like county areas? That's who does the
yeah. You would go check the county websites and make sure that the governing laws allow for short-term rentals. And if they don't, why? And if they do, is there anything that needs to happen? One of my cities, I needed to get a permit, and I had to get the landlord to sign as well to get a permit. So again, we had to work together collaboratively.
Right.
Couldn't operate it without that permit. And then there's other cities that are strict, I air quote that, but they don't enforce anything at all. They don't care. It's just more or less name only. So it's just really understanding the market. And I recommend whatever market you're going to go into, dive into a Facebook group of that market. Find a national group and find a local group, and just start looking at the chatter. Start looking at what people are saying. Ask the questions you want. Hey, how hard is this? Is this that challenging? Do they allow this? If not, why? Just figure out what's going on. And it's just a constant education.
Great information. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Let me expand on that for just a moment. Where to have Airbnbs, I would imagine, and I've heard this, and this is your wheelhouse, but I've told that you should look for certain parts of the country that might have more vacation, maybe warmer weather, because you don't want to be in a place that's cold most of the year because you might have trouble renting it. People talk about being near possibly theme parks, vacation areas. Talking about being near hotels. Excuse me, not hotel. Well, hotels, in case they get full, they need excess booking.
Yeah.
As well as hospitals, because sometimes family members need long-term staying or short-term staying when they've got family members in hospitals. So I think what I was getting at more of it is there a climatic preference, or is that just not even an issue? And
it is a real thing. What you mentioned is the varying levels and differences of the guests that you're looking for. That comes down to the avatar. So the people that you'd be renting out to for like hospital stays and things like that, That's a very specific avatar. That's not the vacation group. That's not the people that are traveling just for fun. Those you would want to be next to a hospital. That would be more of a short-term to a mid-term kind of approach because of the level of clientele that you're attracting in that sense. And that's fine. It operates the exact same way. And in some ways, it's a little easier. But I would say if you're going to go that route, stay in that lane and just that lane. Don't try to sprinkle in vacationers here and other things here. Stay very niche down in that one specific lane and don't deviate. And if you do the vacations, do the same thing.
Is that stay with that niche for that area because it's by a hospital versus having a different niche for a different area that might be by a theme park?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a very different guest, a very different clientele, and it's a very different way of marketing to that clientele as well. So when you create a listing, your copyright, the title of the property, the description of the property, it's going to cater to the guest that you're trying to target. So if you're targeting people that are trying to stay at a hospital, you're not going to be writing your Airbnb listing out to be like, hey, we got a roller coaster 2 miles down the road. Come visit us and have a nice stay, getaway, right?
Yeah.
You want to stand out with SEO, keyword searches, and that all plays a factor into your listing description and everything you write inside of that.
We have Mr. Josh Trujillo with us. Josh, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Great. Hey, what's your question for Ven?
Hey, so I was just curious of your opinion on Airbnbs like near small mountain towns, maybe within like an hour and a half of a ski resort, or like near national parks, because that was kind of my interest was Airbnbs in those areas, and I've watched a lot of Rob Bilt's channel, and I know one of his areas that he focuses on is like national parks and like smaller mountain towns, and so I was just curious your opinion on those areas.
They're great. You can't go wrong, honestly. You really won't go wrong in anything that you target and attack head on. It just will depend. The whole thing that you're going to be depending on is how well you market the property. Those towns do great. People go to those places. I have a buddy that lives in Denver, but he gets properties between the ski resorts, which are about an hour away. So he'll put a property in the middle. So like 30 minutes to Denver, 30 minutes to the resort. So people can come back and forth easily. And it just provides a convenience to them. So they're not staying directly in Denver, but they have that freedom, Highly recommend it. You can't go wrong. Just make sure the numbers are good.
Then let me ask you, we talk about numbers. What's the best? I mean, in the beginning, you've got a lot of experience underwriting these opportunities. And this comes with, trial and error, I would imagine.
Yeah, very much so.
Is there now, if one gets to be trained or solicits your coaching or your mentorship, I would imagine this might shorten the training and give a new investor a little bit more insight.
Yeah.
The proper way to underwrite a property or otherwise known as analyzing a deal.
Yep.
Okay, great. So I think if you guys are watching on YouTube right now, you can get a hold of Ven on Facebook and Instagram, Ven Pikarsky. If you guys are on the call right now, hang on for after the recording, because we're going to talk more about this, about teaming up and building a team for Airbnb. Ven, I really want to thank you for being on today. Great value, phenomenal value. Love you being on. We need to continue to talk and work on our friendship. That's what it's all about.
Oh, yeah.
I say all the time, guys, chase a relationship, don't chase the deal. And when you are able to meet rock stars like Ven Pikarsky, don't bother them with business. Let's get to know the person first. Let them know you're somebody they want to work with, and let you find out there's someone you want to work with, because once you develop that relationship, once you have that connection, there is no end. It just grows from that point on. So Ven, again, I want to really thank you for being here. Do you have a website at all? Yeah,
I do. Yes. Actually, I have 2 websites, one for property management and one for direct booking, which is with all my properties on it. Staywithtruenorth.com is the one I'll get out. I can drop the other website in the side chat here if you want to, but that's the website. That's where we're putting everybody to. Yep.
And again, that is Stay with North.
Stay with True North.
Staywithtruenorth.com.
Yep.
Is that TRUE?
Yes, TRUE.
Okay, because I've seen it as TRU sometimes. So
yeah,
staywithtruenorth.com.
Yep.
Great. Guys, if you're watching the YouTube video today, please like Ven's video. Please like our video. Please put some comments in the chat. If you're on the call right now, do not go away. We're going to do breakout rooms. You got a chance to be in a breakout room with Ven Pikarsky himself. And we're going to talk more about networking and being visible and blowing up your basic connections. So Ven, I guess this is, I had one last question for you.
Shoot.
My group's a networking group. And I always, get on here, talk, if not preach, about relationships and the importance of networking. Whether it's the new investor or an experienced investor who's coming to an educational platform like Step2, which is based on social media and these Facebook groups, what is the importance of networking for these investors? And what's the importance of possibly joining a group like mine to the success of their business?
It's 100% everything to this business and anything in life, truthfully. Your proximity is everything. Proximity is power. Your top 5 friends are going to tell you everything you need to know for the rest of your life. I'll tell you your future if I know your top 5 friends. Network with people, be friends with them, learn with them, be the dumbest person in your group so that you can learn and grow to the top, and then find new friends to be the dumbest people around, and just never stop growing that network, never stop building upon that. And as long as you do that, you will 100% succeed.
There you go.
No questions asked.
That is the goal right there, guys. Hey guys, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys later.